You hear that? That sound. It can't be. Are those the hymns of peak fiction? My God, it's happening. Wait, sounds and smells. Something in the kitchen. It's been cooking for a while, hasn't it? And that food has started to smell mighty good as the meal has progressed. And I think now it's time for it to be served, steaming hot on a plate, ready to go. And June 11th is the serving date, as the chefs at BioWare have been cooking for a while now. And I am very excited to see what they've been making for Dragon Age, not Dreadwolf, but the Veilguard. I love the name. I know some people are like, it's kind of corny, but I love the name. We'll get into it. But ladies and gentlemen, after so many rumors, so much speculation, like I saw my man Jeff Grubb playing with the hearts of the Dragon Age faithful, going out there and saying, well, Dragon Age will be at all of these showcases in some way, shape, or form, but it won't be Dreadwolf. And people started to put together the idea this might be a name change. Some were thinking, oh, they're going to do Dragon Age Legendary Edition. Ha, I wish. Oh, they're going to remake Origins. Ha, I wish. My God, would I wish that to happen. But it looks like our thoughts have been confirmed here, as Dragon Age The Veilguard is on the way, and June 11th, that meal will be served. But before this scrumptious meal, a quick word from today's sponsor. The following video is brought to you by Brilliant.org. Brilliant.org is helping you build your critical thinking skills from the ground up through problem solving. Hands-on problem solving. It's a method that's been proven to be 6 times more effective than just watching lecture videos online. Don't get me wrong, that stuff can be effective, but I think the way Brilliant's doing it is the best way to learn. That's why we've been a partner of Brilliant for over a year now, because the way they do it is just so good. And for me personally, I can see it as I develop a daily learning habit. Learning a little every single day is a real key to success. You don't have to go all in, completely binge a topic. The way Brilliant does things is lets you build knowledge in minutes. For me, I've been focusing in 2 areas. As always, I love messing with their data lessons here. Just interacting with real world examples goes a very long way with me, and it's a great beginner's area if you're new to Brilliant.org. But there's also programming, teaching you to think in code, getting familiar with Python, and starting to build programs on day one with a drag and drop editor. They have a ton of tools here that really let you put your hands on what you're going to be working with, and so you learn in a much more effective way, and thus, in this case, develops your mind to think like a programmer. So what are you waiting for? To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/MrMattyPlays or click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Let's not delay any further. We have the official information from BioWare here on their blog. We're going to go through it together and naturally discuss. At the top, they say summer is nearly upon us, and as promised, we're ready to provide an update on our big reveal. We'd like to invite the world to join us on Tuesday, June 11th, for the first official look at gameplay for the next Dragon Age. Continuing on, they say, after Dragon Age Inquisition launched, the studio was given an incredible opportunity to explore, test, and validate a variety of gameplay concepts as we work to determine what the next Dragon Age could look like. We brought everything to the table, which, yes, even included a multiplayer concept. The time we spent experimenting and iterating gradually taught us a lot. This work and the amazing support from EA helped us refocus on creating an incredible single-player game with all the choices, characters, and world building you expect from us. Now, I know this isn't the juicy information. This isn't the meat and potatoes of the meal, if you will. But I found this pretty significant as someone who's covered Dragon Age for a good long while. Now, for the, I would say, standard fan who's not paying attention to leak cultures and rumor, you probably wouldn't know what this is, and it would just speak to you as like, wow, they've been testing and iterating for a while. That's kind of the PR spin, if you will. This game has been in the works for a long while. Meanwhile, for those of us who have paid attention to insider reports, Jason Schreier said a while ago that Dragon Age was going to be kind of live servicey. It was going to have heists in it. It was going to be very different from the Dragon Age of yore, which I guess kind of fit the series. Like, every entry is very different on a gameplay level when you just look at all 3 games that currently exist. And I imagine Veilguard will follow that up perfectly and look very different as well. However, after seeing how things with Anthem went, many people pushed back against this, seeing that, oh my God, like, why would they ever go multiplayer? And then the report was that BioWare was pivoting to kind of restructure the game and make something more traditional in that old BioWare spirit that would be tighter, more replayable, back to what we knew and loved from BioWare. And the timing couldn't be better because for all of EA's faults, they've really been investing big time in single-player games. You look at the Star Wars Jedi series, you look at their EA original titles, so it looks like BioWare may be able to go back to their old selves, and really, as long as this game delivers, which I know is a tall order, as long as this delivers, the last step is for the fans to show out and support. I've already seen Mass Effect fans very vocal and ready to support because they want their next Mass Effect game. They're like, look, if I got to buy Dragon Age to get that to happen, I'm going to do it. So, hey, salute to the Mass Effect fans. I'm right there with you that are going to make the grand sacrifice here, buy Dragon Age, just to make sure the support is there, the money is there. But I just thought that this, as someone who's covered a lot of Dragon Age, was a fascinating element of it all. But be completely aware, it is a positive PR spin. They're kind of approaching it like, we've been testing, iterating, like scientists, you know, just seeing which angle works the best for us, when this has been what looks like for a long time up until recently. These last few years, it seems like things have gone in a positive direction, a more chaotic development cycle, maybe not as close to what we saw with Anthem and Andromeda based on reports we got for those games versus this, where now the sentiment is very positive around Dragon Age the Veilguard. But just keep in mind, the spin here is different if you're not relatively informed. Now, into the meat and potatoes. Here in this massive paragraph, they write, at BioWare, we create worlds of adventure, conflict, and companionship where you're at the center of it all. As fans of our franchise know, every Dragon Age game has delivered a new standalone story. Set in the world of Thetis, these tales explore epic locales and threats, always thrusting you into a new conflict. Each game also introduces a new lead hero, the Warden, Hawk, the Inquisitor, that you can call your own. You can all expect that and more with the new game. And of course, much like your unique hero, it wouldn't be a Dragon Age game without an amazing cast of companions, right? Each of the 7 unique characters that make up your companions will have deep and compelling storylines where the decisions you make will impact your relationships with them, as well as their lives. You'll unite this team of unforgettable heroes as you take on a terrifying new threat unleashed on the world. Naturally, the Dreadwolf still has an important part in this tale, but you and your companions, not your enemies, are the heart of this new experience. So, to capture what this game is all about, we changed the name, as the original title didn't show just how strongly we feel about our new heroes, their stories, and how you'll need to bring them together to save all of Thetis. We proudly introduce to you Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now look, I understand this is just, you know, text on paper, but the vibe I'm getting here with this uniting everyone, right? You have to pull them together. You're the unifying force against a grand threat, which we know is the Dreadwolf. This gives me Mass Effect 2 energy. I'm very curious when the gameplay lands if I'm still going to feel that way, but on paper, the way it's being spelled out for us, like you got a tight cast, 7 companions, unite them. Obviously, they're saying here that your relationship will determine their lives. Like, that's very much suicide mission energy from Mass Effect 2. So I'm getting that feel here. I'm getting that vibe here. And if Dragon Age goes there, oh, they'll be so back. Now, I don't mean to sound very pedantic here, because I know I kind of overcorrected the first paragraph. I'm going to kind of do the same thing here, but I just want to make sure no one's stepping in blind here for those who are new to Dragon Age, because I know we get a lot of new viewers because I cover a lot of BioWare content. Look, when they say here, like, it's a new standalone story, I've done this long enough to know that just a lot of CEOs and top brass lie through their teeth about this stuff. Like, I'm a massive Legend of Heroes Trails fan. This is a big JRPG series that spans 10 plus entries. Each story is interconnected and very important. You cannot really skip out on any as far as I'm concerned. They all matter. And you got the CEO of Falcom multiple times going, this is a great starting point. Why do they say this? Because it's an easy way to sell the game and make you not hesitant to buy in and get confused. And it kind of benefits them long term if you really like it, because then you go back and play the old games. But yeah, to say it's a standalone story when you see how Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, particularly Red Lyrium, like the Red Templars, all of those events are fueling things that are happening in Inquisition. And Inquisition and its final piece of DLC in Trespasser is what's building into what's happening here for the Veilguard. Yeah, it's not as standalone as it sounds, especially if you keep in mind the Keep. If you have Dragon Age the Keep in this game, which for those who don't know, imports your old saves, your old choices that you've made across 3 games now into Dragon Age the Veilguard, then it's kind of hard to say it's standalone. Does this mean that your main character isn't the same? Absolutely. But to say like, hey, it's a new standalone story, it makes it sound like, to me, the way I read is like, oh, you could play Origins on its own, which you could. It's the first game in the series. And you can play 2 on its own, and you can play Inquisition on its own. Technically, you can, but I feel like you're not reaping the most benefits out of it. You get what I'm saying? It's like a bit of a caveat. Anyway, I've overcorrected enough. The new name, the Veil Guard. I find this very exciting because they're clearly following a pattern, finally, with the series where I thought the naming convention was weird. Like, Dragon Age Origins works. It's the origin story of this universe. Dragon Age 2, the only numbered entry in the series, just stands there on its own. Like, re-release this game and give it the new name of Dragon Age Exodus like it was supposed to have, because, again, that would have made it make way more sense. Then you have Inquisition, right? You're the Inquisitor. It speaks to the main character. And now you have here the Veil Guard. So I think that's going to speak to your group. You're the Veil Guard, and whoever joins you, that's what it's going to be comprised of. Now, I'm going to bring up this wiki breakdown for those who don't know what the Veil is. They define it as a metaphysical barrier that exists between the physical Thetis and the Fade. Neither spirits nor mortal beings can easily pass physically through the Veil, but the consciousness of most mortal dreamers and all mages are a different matter. The Veil is not an object. It cannot be touched or seen. It is not a physical barrier, but rather something similar to a magical vibration that repels the Fade. It is a metaphor used by the mortal scholars to explain the interactions between two different realities. For example, in Dragon Age Inquisition, there were these things called Fade Rifts. They were tears in the Veil that would connect the world with the Fade, allowing demons and spirits to pass through. For those of you who, like, I'm doing a Dragon Age Origins playthrough right now, like, you see that pretty frequently. Like, you see it a little bit in the Mages versus Templar storyline. You'll see it during the Red Cliff storyline. There's a lot of times you'll see how the Fade, the Veil, plays a pretty big factor and allows these spirits, these demons to go through. So you're protecting that, or probably trying to keep it sealed, I would imagine. And obviously we know that Mr. Dreadwolf would like to utilize that to his advantage. So that kind of sets up the story here. Some people worried that this meant it was a pivot away from the Dreadwolf being a focus in the story. I don't really have that kind of concern. I think it makes more sense to focus the game around who you're playing as, because previous games have done that, so you may as well continue that. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the final frame where they say, we know you've been waiting a long time for this reveal, and we're so ready to show you what we've been up to. We'll see you on Tuesday, June 11th at 8 a.m. Pacific time at the Dragon Age YouTube channel, with over 15 minutes of gameplay from the opening moments of the game that has you jumping back into Thetis on your new adventure. This moment means so much to everyone at BioWare, and we wouldn't be here without you. We're ready to have some fun, so join the chat early. We've got a few special surprises for you. Thank you for all your support. See you soon, Gary McKay. So, yeah, 15 plus minutes of gameplay, opening parts of the game as well. I got so many questions. So much on the dome here. I cannot wait to see this. I find it interesting that they're striking at their own time after everyone's gone. I think that's really smart. I really feel like Dragon Age Dreadwolf can have this moment where it can really capture the zeitgeist in a quick way, especially if the rumors are true that it's coming out very soon. We'll see if that ends up being the case here. But if you show over 15 minutes of gameplay, it looks awesome. And they're like, yeah, it's coming out really soon, like in a few months or so. People are going to lose their minds. And I think a lot of people, especially after Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and then being reminded with like a separate project like Baldur's Gate 3, like how good the BioWare style experience can be. Like, I think people are ready for BioWare to be back in a big way. So if they storm out the gates here and show something impressive, I think it is going to do phenomenally well for them. But 15 plus minutes of gameplay is really encouraging. I feel like they're going to really show out, and I hope it's worth the wait. I wonder if they're going to answer some questions like, how long's the game? What kind of choices? Are they going to show off any choices? Like, how much are they going to dive into this? Obviously, if it's coming out soon, it's not just going to be this one beat, I think, and that's it. I imagine there's going to be much more. But nonetheless, I am just pumped. Like, I am ready for this thing. I've been ready for this thing. We've covered it for a long while, so the wait is almost over. Obviously, I'll be there on June 11th to cover this gameplay reveal. I cannot wait to see what they've been cooking for so long. I know the only thing we really got was that very, very, very early peak of gameplay during like a prototype trailer, and it looked like, you know, kind of close over the shoulder third-person combat. God of War inspired potentially. So we'll see what happens here. I'm expecting definitely more action-oriented combat. Personally, I just hope that, you know, for me, it's less about the combat in these BioWare games, because I think they can do action games right. I know this is a dated example, but I do think it's something like Jade Empire, where they had action combat, but they also had really great characters and choice and consequence. And I would just love to see that style BioWare come to form here, because it felt like once they started to go to action, they kind of got that down pat with Mass Effect 1 and 2, where they still managed to make meaningful choices in the game while keeping the action combat. But I think a series like Dragon Age kind of suffered from it. When you look at Origins and the level of choice that was there and the rest of the series, it definitely pales in comparison. So I hope this is a return to form of the classic BioWare. That's been my plea for years, has been, please go back to traditional BioWare. And by that, I don't mean like old head style, just 30-hour, tight-knit game, highly replayable. Like these BioWare games, the fact that I'm replaying Origins now, yes, it's partially hype-driven, but I've replayed BioWare games my entire life. Not because they're just amazing to me, but because I know I can like finish them in like a week or two, and if I want to put more hours into it, I'll replay it a different way. To me, that's so much more appealing. Maybe I just like the feeling of finishing something, but that's much more appealing than sinking my teeth into like 80, 90, 100-hour games, is instead beating a 30-hour game 3 times over. That's how I stand on it, but nonetheless, I'm ranting and raving now. I'll try to keep my jets cool until we get this gameplay reveal, but I am very excited to see what BioWare has been cooking. We'll see in due time how things go. Let me know how you're feeling down below. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active, and love you all. Peace.